episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Lodi, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living extraordinary. Well, I'm super excited about my guest today. This is going to be so much fun. And we are in a new studio today, which I think is a lot of fun because we're outside my home studio. Yay! So we are here at One Winged Studios in, where are we at? Farmers Branch? Yeah, Farmers Branch. So excited about that. We have a guest in studio, but before I welcome him on, we need to do a shout out to our sponsors. So today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube films, photography work, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, you're going to want to go to photosbywalt.com. And of course, we do want to give a shout out to our friend Jennifer Marcus at One Wing Studios. Check her out. She's amazing. Learning a lot about her. All right. So I'm excited about my guest today. And this is so much fun. So before I say this, because I know that my people that have been following me for a long time, they know that I'm all about holistic health. I'm all about holistic business. Anything that we can do to not put a Band-Aid on something, I'm excited about it. So I'm excited to have you here today. So for my guest, this is fun. Or my audience, I'm sorry, we have a board-certified gastroenterologist. He's been in practice for over 19 years with a clinical focus on inflammatory bowel disease and irritable bowel syndrome. He said that he declared that his mission is to bridge the gap between medical and natural science. All right, so for over a decade, Dr. Kenneth Brown has been conducting clinical research for various pharmacologic companies. He recognized an unmet need for something natural that could help his IBS patients find real relief. After developing the only all-natural and clinically proven answer for IBS and bloating for over 8 years, Atrantil launched in the summer of 2015. He continues his research in finding natural solutions based in science with the intent of providing affordable, effective solutions. He's also the co-host of the GutCheck Project podcast with his friend and colleague, Eric Rieger, CRNA. So welcome to the show, Dr. Brown. I'm so excited to have you.
Well, thank you so much. And first of all, it was Jennifer, right? I don't know if this was a compliment or an insult. As soon as she saw me, she goes, I've seen your podcast. Why don't you have the George Sims Beginner Guide to Podcast? She made me read the first few chapters before going live here. So,
this is so fun. We'll start there. What'd you learn in that book? Anything good?
Learn to never break the fourth wall and look at the person behind the camera. So that's chapter 4 on chapter 3.
Hey, that's good. That's good. I liked it. So I think this is fun because this is actually my gastroenterologist. So this is fun. I actually met him back in 2015, and it was funny because I was going to a GI doctor that I didn't really care for very much. And I remember I looked you up, and I think at that time you were working with triathlete runners or something. And so we had talked about running, and I tell everybody that one of the things, because all of my stuff that I've had to deal with on my own digestion was really sparked. My knowledge was when you had started talking to me about SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And so that kind of spawned all of my journey into researching about all of that. And then, sugar causes problem in the body and all of that good stuff. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Kind of opened the doors to a lot of good stuff. So I want to ask you kind of a fun question. I always like to ask this question, like, why medicine? What drew you to that in gastroenterology?
Oh, wow. Okay. So what drew me to medicine first? It's a little bit of a drawn out story, but the short answer is that I had a friend that I'm still friends with. His name is Junior. I've known him since I was 4 years old. Unfortunately, him and his mother were severely burned when a water heater exploded and we were in 8th grade. So 8th grade summer, his mom was in the ICU. He was in Michigan at the time. And he called and said that they're going to release him because he's younger and he had skin grafts over everything. And so he lived with me for a year. And so while we were doing that, I was changing his bandages. And then we met a great guy. His name is Leonard Woods, just died recently. But he showed up in the evening, said, my name's Leonard Woods. I'm a physical therapist. I hear that you have a young man that needs some help. And he came over and we spent the next year, and Woody would rehab him, and I just saw the care that somebody could do. So I knew immediately, I'm like, okay, this is making a huge difference in this kid's life. My friend, brother, we've been together since we were 4 years old, and I've got Leonard Woods who showed up on his own time after work and just demonstrated what it's like to actually give and make a difference. So I'm like, I'm going to be a physical therapist. And so I ended up going to college. interning with him, and then he pulled me aside and said, you need to go into medicine. You need to be a physician. He's like, I'm impressed that you want to do this. And so then that's what kind of sparked healthcare and how I went into that. Junior, on the other hand, get rehabbed, ended up winning state shot put, playing football for Notre Dame, and then played 12 years for the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, wow.
And he was actually given some major award for giving back because he spent a lot of his time in San Francisco 49ers visiting children and kids that got burned.
Yeah.
And saying, this is what you can do when it gets better. So, he said, he rehabbed. So it was just a great example of what, when people come together and care about each other. And so that's why I went into medicine. And then why I went into this particular field. At the University of Nebraska, you're supposed to decide if you're going to go into medicine or into surgery. And I wanted to be a surgeon. And when they do that, then they pretty much make your life miserable for 3 months to see if you actually want to be a surgeon. And I hated it. I didn't really like the people I was working with, so I went into medicine. And then one day when I was an intern, somebody was sick, puking up blood everywhere at the hospital. And so the guy had a variceal bleed. And a local doctor here in Dallas, named Neville Fernandez, he was training ahead of me, so he was a fellow, comes walking in, just calm, joking around. I mean, it's just chaos. Blood's everywhere. And he goes, Ken, it's the smell of money. Come on. And I went, oh, these GI guys are pretty cool. I think I'm going to go into GI. So then ever since then, that was 25 years ago or something. So fits like a glove. So my stories started when I was in 8th grade.
Wow. And that's impressive. I was asked that question because I think that, some people, they know from a very young age what they want to do. And then there's a lot of us that have no clue. They go to school and they come out and then they end up doing different things, and it becomes a very nonlinear process. And even in what you've done, you've kind of expanded your practice. It's not just that. You've got a whole other side you're doing. You've got this podcast, and you've got this other work that you're doing, your other product that you created, which I think kind of branches you out a little bit, even from just traditional medicine. So
it's interesting you bring that up because in my particular field, when you make that commitment, it's a grind.
Right.
It's this battle of attrition, and you don't really stop and think about anything. I need to get through the next phase of this thing. Then you need to get in here. And a lot of people, that's where they become disillusioned because then it's the business of medicine. Then it's, running a practice. Yeah. Well, for me, what's really exciting is that now I'm like, where do I go from here? Now we've got, another company. We've got this other research arm called KDMD Health where we're able to really kind of experiment with things. And I feel like where I'm at is just beginning because I did pharmaceutical research for so long, about 10 years. I'm doing the actual these drug companies are paying me money. I'm seeing behind the curtain how this is working, how the protocols happen, how much money they're spending on this. And then that's when I figured out, well, what if we can find ways to do similar things naturally? And just now, after developing Atrantil, and now I'm meeting with scientists all over the world, and there are people doing incredible bench research showing how we can help people by using a combination of different things that are natural that you'll never hear about because nobody's promoting it. Nobody's funding the research. Nobody's doing any of that.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to turn the corner here on that. And we're starting to realize that possibly using natural products can be as effective. Yeah. I had just this past October at the American College of Gastroenterology, we had shipped 200 cases of our product to Northwestern University, Northwestern University and the hospital associated with that. And they presented a study that we didn't pay for. They did it just on Atrantil and constipation and bloating.
Really?
And so then they did a poster and it showed positive results. So we went and met with the principal investigator, Dr. Brenner, and he goes, this is really exciting because we have a safe product that patients are taking already. And now we can start bringing some science to it. So I think that when you have a prestigious institution like that, acknowledging that there are natural treatments, this is starting to sort of shift the tide a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember when I met you, that wasn't out yet. It was coming. I remember that. And I used it. It did work. I used it. I don't have too much trouble with bloating anymore, but I did use it. And it's interesting to me when we talk about this because I had a chiropractor come on my show I don't know, a few months ago, and he works with ball players, professional players. And we were talking about how when he went into chiropractic care, went into school for that in the beginning, that there was just this idea that chiropractors and doctors just didn't even they're like, you can't talk to doctors, because this is chiropractic care. And he said he never followed that. Like he sends some of his clients back to see their doctors. If he knows this is something that this part I can't help you with, you need to go back to your doctor and talk to your doctor, and has those relationships where he's built these with these doctors where they can go back and do that. So I think that I have been for at least the last 7 years. I've been in this idea of that there has to be this middle ground where holistic care can be done, because there's got to be some preventative maintenance, right? Like some things that you can do to help prevent. And medicine has its place when you need it. I would say, I feel like for myself, if you're having a heart attack, you need to go to the hospital, right? But when it comes to like digestive care, stuff like that, there's a lot of things you can do, I think, outside of that too, to help yourself.
Yeah, this whole process has sort of skewed me as somebody that was trained allopathic, and then I did do pharmaceutical research and got paid to do it, made pretty good money. So it's not like I'm being a hypocrite here.
Right.
But then when came up with this natural idea and then just ran into a brick wall and realizing that when I would go talk to my colleagues, they're like, oh, there's no science on it. I'm like, well, the science is right here. They're like, that's not a big enough study. And I'm like, oh, you mean there's not a drug rep showing up with a detail piece buying you lunch, telling you that this is the science? So I became very frustrated really quick and found out that nutritionists, dietitians, chiropractors were much more open to at least listening to it and going from there. And gut health, we're now realizing all health begins and ends in the gut. If you do not have a healthy gut, you can't have a healthy body at all. And this is my my massively transformative goal is to cure dementia before I die.
Yeah.
Because it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
And we now realize that gut health 10 to 20 years before, bloating, for instance, that's the canary in the mine shaft. We don't even realize that if you're having issues and you're bloated and when you eat, you feel that you don't feel good, you feel inflamed, that is inflammation in the gut. And what happens is that leads to intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And then in leaky gut, you have things like the shell of bacteria come through and your body reacts to it. We now know that reaction sets off an inflammatory process that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And when you look back at people that have dementia and you talk to the spouse, they're like, well, he started complaining about his gut about 15 years ago.
Makes sense.
And so I feel like so when you say, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
So my path was really linear up to this point, and now it's branching in different ways.
Yeah.
But I feel like before I leave this earth, having that one thing, because as we sit here on this podcast, you're creating memories.
Right.
And I think that the greatest tragedy is to live a life and then have everything erased from it.
Yeah.
And then those around you watching that.
Right.
And so if that one thing could be fixed, I currently have my mother-in-law who's struggling with some issues like that. My 83-year-old mom is just sharp as a tack, and the lifestyle differences are there. She's sort of embraced the Mediterranean diet early on. We discussed these things, 20 years ago. And so.
That's interesting. Yeah. No, and I've studied a lot on the gut health and leaky gut and all that too. So I did a lot of that because I know I've shared this, I don't know if I shared this with you or not, but in between 2000 and right after I met you, probably 2017, 2018, I went like about 24 months on a ketogenic diet. I just went hardcore because I was trying to get off all my medication, which I was able to get off of all of that. And this was all around the time when I was talking to you about the Untitled, and I was studying. I actually had looked up a gal by the name of Maria Emmerich. She was kind of starting out as a ketogenic coach back then. She's works with a lot of endurance runners now. Zach Bitter is one of the.
Oh yeah, she had on your show.
I messaged her one day because I was kind of in a place where I eliminated everything. I'd taken gluten, all the things out of my diet, and I was like, I've got to find something. Like, I can't do this any longer. And so I just went cold turkey and did it and was able to get off all of my medications successfully within the 12 months. The first 12 months, it took a little while because I think my body was so bad at that time to just heal. And so I did a lot of research on, leaky gut and all of that, and permeability and all of that, and the gut-brain connection. So I believe in all that stuff. And I talk about it all the time with people that I know and on my podcast. That's why everybody that's following me, this is like no surprise to them because I'm always talking about this stuff. So I think what you're doing is awesome. So Tell us a little bit about your podcast. I want to know about that. I know, but I know our audience is going to want to know a little bit about what's going on with that.
Ooh, yeah.
The fun in that.
Ooh. So that it kind of fell in my lap. Well, the way this started, we found a new digital radio station, satellite radio station, digital platform. A bunch of people from the Blaze had come over, and it was cheap advertising. Somebody had said, "Hey, I got a friend over there. You can, it's a small audience, but it's a very loyal audience." And so me and Eric went there to the studio and just hit it off with the guys. And so they're like, "Hey, go on this next show here." And then so I just spent 5 minutes. We spent all day there. And unfortunately, one of the main people there that was running 2 different shows got run over by a train like 2 days after we were there. And so we got called by the studio manager, said, "We now have 3 hours of airtime every Thursday. And I know that he would like you to have this. It's unfortunate, but we're kind of in a bind. Can you do this?" Wow. And so Eric was just like, we can do this. I'm like, just show up and do a live show. And that's how it started. Okay. And so it started as the GutCheck Project, but we were just trying to help this digital radio station stay on their feet. And then ultimately they had to close that down. And so we just kept it going. And it's our motto is just check your ego at the door, because we're going to talk about just about anything.
Anything. And you guys do. Talk about it. It's a good show. It's funny because I think how these things, somebody asked me that one day. They're like, "How did your podcast, how did it start out?" And when I go back and I think about it, I'm like, it was a friend of mine. We were in a parking lot and we were complaining about what we were doing in our businesses. And we were just at this standstill. It's right before the pandemic. It was October 2019. And we're like, we should just start a podcast. We don't even know what we're going to do. We're just going to start a podcast. And in 2 weeks, we launched it. We had no idea what we were doing. We showed up at Adventure X in a little room with padding on the walls. Both of us were managing a computer, trying to go live, and had no clue what we were doing. But we all have to start somewhere, right?
So I have a patient who's a billionaire. He's sold several businesses. Mm-hmm. I actually grabbed him when I was thinking of the Altron Teal idea, not understanding the business side of it or anything. Yeah. And I said, and these are how these serial entrepreneurs, not just serial entrepreneurs, but serial successful entrepreneurs think. Like once they have success, they can make more success. Mm-hmm. And so he just was like, "Listen, I've seen a lot of doctors try this kind of stuff." He goes, "You're going to probably, quote unquote, piss it down your leg." He's like, "Let me just buy the idea off you. Let me take it over and do this." And I was like, well, my thought was, if this guy thinks it's worthy to just buy the idea, and it would be like nominal money to him, but at the time it was just get it off my hands. And so I'm like, okay, so we started the company. Fast forward a couple of years later, I see him and he's like, "Hey, see your product run. It's pretty awesome." He goes, "You want to know why most businesses fail?" And I said, "Lack of funding." And he goes, "They never jump off the dock." Mm. And what you did is you just jumped off the dock.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah, which is, sometimes you jump off and you're like,
you land on your head.
Yeah, and you're like, "Wow, let's not do that again. Let's find a new dock." Yeah. But other times you get out and you start swimming and you do whatever. And I love that because he's like, most people just never jump. Yeah. They wait and they wait and they wait. Because you could have sat there and gone, "This is the pandemic. We're not going to do anything. Let's wait till it's better." Yeah. But you jump.
Yeah, what's interesting about that too? I have 2 things to say about that. I only had one person during the pandemic that entire time not show up for a podcast. We were going into the studio even when they closed Dallas down. I was driving into the studio. I kept it going. And one person not show up the entire time. Everybody came. That one person. The other thing, I had a great mentor that I worked with, and we talk about that, about toe dipping. Like people would stick their toe in the water and then they do nothing else, and you might just got to throw your body in the water, So I think, sometimes I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you sort of have to just have that dive in. Like you just.
When did you become an entrepreneur? When did you go, "Oh, I'm definitely an entrepreneur"?
When did I? 1997. It's been a long time. I was 27, I guess. I was in Mary Kay for a long time. Oh, okay. So I was in there for 22 years and in leadership for 15 years. So I've kind of been an entrepreneur for a long time and a mom. So yeah. But I think you just, it's funny because I've started several things since then. Like I formed my LLC in 2018, and then I launched a book and did a podcast within 2 weeks of each other. I just made a decision. We're going to throw the book out there, do the podcast, we'll see what happens. I sort of had that philosophy though, like we're just going to dive in, we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy sometimes.
Well, I asked the question because I just now finally feel a little bit like I'm an entrepreneur, and we're 8 years into the company.
Yeah.
It's because I'm part of this entrepreneur group, and you go for meetings, and what's really wild is there's people of all different levels.
Yeah.
But the one thing nobody does is brag and say anything. Basically, when you're having dinner with them or you're having a glass of wine, everybody talks about the landmines that they stepped on and hope that you don't step on the same ones. And so in the beginning, it was like, oh, that's scary. And then now we've changed the leadership of the company. We had to completely turn it upside down. We had to just, because it was not heading in the right direction. And that was not easy. That was one of the hardest things that you have to do when you start with a team and you go, this team is not taking me where I need to go. When we're talking about, the head management, you got to have these conversations. And that's when I'm like, oh, now I'm an entrepreneur because this is really uncomfortable.
Well, and that's the thing. We used to always say that, the people that get you to one place are not the same people that get you to the next place, right? Like you start with these people. And that's why I said, I've had several people in this project with between the two podcasts that I run. I love them all. We're still great friends. But midway through, we realized our visions weren't singular, or they had different needs that weren't meshing with mine. And so, we had to part ways. And so I think you have to have those. My last one's fun because the last co-host I had on, I love her to death. In fact, I messaged her today and I was like, hey, I miss you. I haven't talked to you. We need to go to lunch. But I remember when she was leaving, I knew she was ready to go. Like I could just tell she needed to move on and she was afraid to tell me. And then she ended up sending me this really long email. And I was like, you didn't even need to do all that. All you had to do was say, hey, I just don't think this is for me right now. And I would have been like, okay, do your thing, fly. And so you have to have those. You pray for those moments when they recognize themselves and they ask themselves out, but that doesn't always happen in the real life.
Yeah. And what was so interesting is that all these people that I've met, so many of them had a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Or my first two companies went belly up. And you just go, oh my gosh, this is once again, it's a battle of attrition. You just gotta stick it out. Like where we're at right now, really kind of feel like Upfrontier is heading in really the right direction. They got leadership that's different. We're new products. We're launching in Europe now. We got a manufacturing facility in Spain, and this is all going on like all at the same time. And 2 years ago, it's like, we're stuck.
Right. What are we doing?
What are we doing? I've got investors that we have to pay back. I've got, and it's this, you don't realize how heavy it is. It's, you know what? Because I've had friends doing it, but it's like you don't realize what kind of a bad relationship you're in until you're out of it.
Yep.
And you're looking back on it.
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't even realize, how much it was actually affecting me. It's like, wow, because you just want it to work so bad for so many different reasons. The least of which is that I feel like we can help people. And then you've got your friends and family that invested in you. And then it's this thing that you realize that, oh my gosh, we've got 20 some people working for us. Now other people's lives depend on it. They're getting married and having kids. And, that's I think that was, I don't remember the book. I didn't even read it, but I think that's the history of the guy that started Home Depot.
Oh.
Where it was like his loyalty was the fact that people moved. Yeah. He's got family. He's like, these people, this is why we have to make it work.
Yeah.
These people are dependent on it.
It gets hard. I studied a lot. I was studying like the guy that did Uber and all of them. I mean, there's a lot of really good stories, but it gets back to when people are depending on you. You're trying to get that up and work. It's not about you anymore. It becomes about all the people. You still have your mission and your purpose and your passion, but now you've got other people that you have to include into that. It becomes a whole different game in entrepreneurship. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. I would say that.
Yeah, I think that in my case, it was, I had this idea that had to come out.
Yeah.
It was a product. It was a novel product. Nobody had ever done it before. We had patents on it. You just have to do everything you can to get this thing out there because there's a lot of really good products that never really get off the ground due to a lot of different reasons, but we just kept pumping it. And I feel like we're finally going to be to the point where it's going to be big enough that we can start helping. We've helped millions of people, but.
Yeah. I have a question for you. I maybe on that side of it, because I always like to get into the mind of people that are, that pushing past the limitations and keep doing it. Like, do you feel like was there any one person or maybe any one thing that you did that you feel like was instrumental in that drive to get it out? I mean, was there anybody like an influencer, or was it just your pure tenacity to get this out? And
Well, I did the clinical trials. And so here I have a disease or I have a symptom.
Yeah.
Bloating and irritable bowel that in my field,
which is huge,
which is 20% of the world population.
Yeah.
And the same conversation was being had. We're being trained where you come, I do an endoscopy and colonoscopy, you wake up and I'm like, Jennifer, great news.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. You just have irritable bowel.
Right.
And then the next thing is, well, I still feel like crap.
Right.
What do I do? And then you get offered antidepressants.
Right.
And so that we didn't have any real treatment. And so when I was doing the clinical trials on Xifaxan, a guy named Mark Pimentel was pivotal. I went to a dinner before Xifaxan even began, early on, and he was just being paid to be a speaker. And him and I got to talking afterwards. He's like, I have animal models that show that irritable bowel is actually caused by bacteria growing where it shouldn't be. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, and this is way before anything was published. So the whole concept was planted, and I'm like, wow. And then he ran with it, continues to run with it, continues to be an innovator, coming out with breath tests and doing things like that out of Cedars-Sinai. And that thing probably changed it direction because I just listened to somebody saying, I have a completely novel idea of why 20% of the population feels like this. Instead of saying that they're crazy, maybe we should start looking at it that this is a bacteria growing where it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And I guess if we're going to talk about an influencer, that's probably the one that did it.
Yeah.
And he did it based on animal models. And then that whole concept, him and I were talking. So I was now doing the clinical trials on Xifaxan, but they were looking at it for irritable bowel with diarrhea. And then he just said in passing, it's unfortunate, we'll never help the bloated, constipated person because antibiotics don't work on the type of bacteria, which is an archaeobacter.
Yeah.
And because those produce methane. And I just went, oh, and I'm from Nebraska originally, where I remember they were trying to mandate farmers put food products in the feed for cattle to decrease the methane production they were producing.
Yeah.
And I went, wow. And so that's where it all started. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so there's 2 times where that one person, Dr. Pimentel, who's really well known in the field, said 2 different things. 1, I have this new idea. 2, we'll never be able to help this person. And I went, well, if we can help cows,
then
why can't we help humans?
Yeah.
And so that's where it all started.
Okay. Well, I think that the good thing here is that because I've worked with I've had to go to different doctors. Obviously, I'm very picky about my doctors, and I'm not really good with narrow-minded doctors because I'm just if we're not going to research and look into things, and this is the only thing we're going to go on, then I'm going to go find another doctor. So that is the one thing I do like about you, and then one of the reasons when I moved back in 2015 is that I recognized that you were researching things and not being, okay, this is the only thing we know and this is the only thing we're going to stick with. Let's look into other options. So, and I think things have come a long way even since, you said that throughout this episode, things have come a long way. And so I think we are getting more into this idea of let's look at other methods, right?
I think we are into that idea.
Yeah.
But we just got done doing a whole series of podcasts with the FLCCC frontline COVID doctors. And what we got into a discussion over and over again is that a lot of the physicians are actually employed now.
Oh.
Over 80% are employed by a hospital system. And the hospital system wants to make sure that things are done on a protocol.
Okay.
Because then it is predictable, it is a cost measuring thing, and they can understand all that. So when you say that we're open to it, the other side of medicine is rapidly closing down on this because people are being trained in this environment that here's the protocol for this, here's the protocol for this. I got trained in the art of medicine. If it's not working, what kind of things can we use off label here and there? It's just a common theme. Maybe I'm just getting old enough where I can start saying that. They're not training the kids right these days.
Well, no, I think a lot of them are that way because even when I was doing keto, this was back in 2017. It was before keto was really even being talked about. And I would go into the doctor's office and, I even at one point I went and had my blood work done because I wanted to prove a doctor wrong because I was going around with her and she's like, your cholesterol's high. And I'm like, okay, but did you look at the triglycerides and the LDL and all? Did you look at all the numbers? And so then I went in and had all my blood work done and I ended up coming back. Everything was fine. I walked in there, I'm like, you just stick to what you're doing and I'll keep studying my stuff, and so I have been in that, and you're right about that, because there are a lot of them that are still stuck in these same protocols, and they don't, it's like it's like one size fits all. Like it doesn't, it doesn't do that with everybody, right? Not everybody fits in a box. And what may work for one person doesn't necessarily work for the next person, right?
So a great example, I got contacted probably around that time, probably around 2017, maybe right around there. A reporter from WFAA wanted to see if she could interview me on the ketogenic diet. And so I just discussed it and just talked about how the health benefits for it and everything. And then she called me like a week later. She goes, "This is really funny. I interviewed a cardiologist about something else, heart attacks or something like that." And she said, "By the way, I interviewed Dr. Brown on the ketogenic diet. What are your thoughts?" This is off camera.
Okay.
And he goes, "That's all bullshit." And she goes, "It's bullshit, but he had a large monster and basically like a Mars bar on his desk. So he's doing this and saying that what I'm talking about is BS." Yeah. Can we say?
You're fine. Yes.
You got to ask that.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's good. It's okay.
You should have a list of words I can't say.
No, it's okay. You're good. It's good. It would be the first time that somebody said that on here.
But it was BS.
Yes. Because he's eating the monster in the market.
You're gonna, high fructose corn syrup and everything else that's there, and you're saying that ketogenic is BS?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we run into this issue. And I would say that if this closed-mindedness, and I've run into that with different types of doctors. Ketogenic is phenomenal for helping with cancer, for instance. And when I've had fasting, if you want to look at like Prolong has some good data on this and everything about fasting. And when I talk to the oncologist, no. We need to feed people. They're already sick. They're emaciated. They need to be fed. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we're just feeding the cancer.
Yeah.
With the sugar.
Yeah.
I know, there's a lot. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there. That's why I tell people, I've had friends that have gotten cancer, and I want so bad to be like, just go look this up. Just go do your research on it. Just don't be so. But they do. They go to their doctors, and that's what their doctors are telling them to do. And,
I had a urologist come and see me because he was being treated for cancer, and he couldn't work for like a week after his first chemo. He found me or saw the podcast or something, then made an appointment. And I said, well, let's do this. Let's lead you up to this. Let's do a fasting mimicking diet leading up to it. We'd love to get your feedback on it.
Yeah.
And then he did the rest of his chemo with a 5-day fast. And all I said was, look, if you think about it, cancers are fast growing. That's the one thing. They're fast growing. And our cells, when they get put under a hormetic state or stress, like fasting, they'll retreat. As Walter Longo discusses it, you can imagine that if you have cancer, it is this saber-toothed tiger running towards a village.
Yeah.
If all the villagers go into a cave, and the really sick and really weak and old cells are kind of told, hey, you're not cutting it. Why don't you lay over there and just go on to your next phase, which is called apoptosis.
Yeah.
And then the saber-toothed tiger runs down. And if you give chemo, all these other cells are hiding in a cave because they're in a state of rest.
Yeah.
Cancer never goes into that. So the cancer gobbles it up, has a higher chance of dying, less chance of harming the individual. If you throw a bunch of sugar, then everybody wakes back up, runs out of the cave, and everybody gets exposed to the chemo. Yeah. That was the way that it was described. When I explained it like that to him, he's like, well, I'm totally going to do that. And he had no issues after that. He's like, oh, perfect. Yeah, totally. It was cured. Had no problems with chemo. So all these things make physiologic sense. If it can make sense and it's plausible, then it's worth looking into.
I agree.
Instead of just shutting down and being like, there's no science or whatever it is.
I agree with you on that. I know there's so much on that. They did it. Well, and I read at one point they did a study with these rats that they had given them like a sugar drip and then like I think it was a cocaine drip, and the rats actually went to the sugar over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did it like that? It's addictive, and people don't really understand. I mean, is ketogenic for everybody? I don't know. I mean, I did it. I still do low carb. I try to. I'm not perfect at it. I don't necessarily. There's some days I do keto without even trying. So
really,
I mean, because I try to stay low carb. I just feel better when I do. I have less issues.
Yeah, I try to stay low carb, but it's not. It's
It's
not
like
a real conscious thing.
Yeah,
it
it's
seems
not.
Like it just kind of happens.
Exactly. You train. I think you get to a point eventually if you've done it long enough. Like I've done it. I know what I can eat, what I'm not. And I just know I feel better when I don't eat a bunch of junk. That's just in the story.
I thought you were going to say the rat study that everybody always brings up. The rat study where they took a rat, put him in a cage, and they gave him cocaine or food, and the rat would do cocaine until it died.
Then maybe it was that one.
Well,
No, that was a different one. No, that was a different.
Yeah, I've seen the one with sugar.
Yeah, this was a sugar one.
But here's what's really fascinating about that. Somebody said that is BS. I really doubt that somebody would cocaine themselves to the point where they won't eat any food.
Yeah.
Then they said, well, let's do the exact same experiment, except let's put them in a bigger cage, put more rats in there, and let them have fun. They hardly ever touch the cocaine, which showed socialization in a happy life.
Yeah.
They
didn't need that.
They didn't need the cocaine.
Yeah, no, the one I did was about the sugar thing. I've researched so much of this stuff about like coconut oil and the cows, and like they give the cows the coconut oil thinking they're going to get fatter, and they actually get thinner taking the coconut oil. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff out there, but I've not heard that one.
I had a researcher who's a PhD at UTD, and her research is in addiction medicine.
Uh-huh.
And it was really funny because she just said it matter of fact, and I just could not get over this one thing. She's like, yeah, I do. I research cocaine on rats. I was like, huh? She goes, yeah, we get them addicted. Then I try to get them off. And I was like,
yeah,
how do you teach them to do the coke?
Right.
I mean, like, what do you do? Do you wear a little suit and you have to like snort it?
Yeah. Like, how do you teach a rat to do? Did she tell you?
Oh, she just thought that I was like just the stupidest person ever asked that question.
Well, I probably would have asked the same thing. I'd be like, you just show me I want to know how they do it. I'm curious.
I didn't know if they had like a little scenario, and then they had, like a little slum area where, there's
interesting. This is good. All right. Well, I want to pull this back around on the entrepreneur because you've talked about a lot of really good stuff today. I want to know like what you've learned in this journey being an entrepreneur. You said a lot of really good things, but anything specific that comes to mind that you're like, it's like my big takeaway as an entrepreneur.
Be even more curious than I was. I'm constantly curious now because it seems like if you're not paying attention, if you're not being open-minded, something's going to pass by.
Yeah.
Just, I'm more humble and curious than I am 8 years into it than I was back then. Then I was naive and was just jumping off docks.
Yeah. You're done. I think Jordan Peterson said, do you follow Jordan Peterson?
No.
Okay, well,
I know who he is though.
Yeah, I follow a lot of stuff. And he talks about how like when you get so like laser focused on a path, like where because we always talk about that, like put your blinders on and stay focused, completely on what you're trying to do. And he says you miss the opportunities. So that are around you, right? Like you miss these opportunities. So I always feel like that, we have to be growth minded. We have to be open to what's out there because like, I always kind of use this, I don't know what you want to call it, but I always say when you just decide that you're not going to grow anymore, it's like you put yourself in this box and then you just put a lid on it and that's it. Like,
who was it that wrote the book? I didn't read it. I saw him on a podcast. In a world of specialists, the generalist will win. And it was basically that when you learn a lot of other things, if you continue to learn, your brain, if you're open to it, will make the connections. You'll see that there's a cow in Nebraska that's going to help you make a drug over here or make a nutraceutical over here. And if you're not open to stuff, you'll never make these connections because that linear path keeps you so narrow-minded. It's a super, super specialist. The whole part was discussing how when people study many things, they can sometimes come into a company and start piecing things together in a more unique way.
I feel like networking's like that too. I feel like, when I used to train my team, I would always say, if you felt stuck, you needed to talk to somebody because that person may lead you to another idea, to another person. And so I feel like when you network, not only do you get great ideas about what you're trying to do, right? But also you piece things. Like you may learn something from somebody over here and maybe you are the conduit that person needs to meet over here, or maybe they bring you to another idea or to another person that you need to meet,
Yeah.
So I feel it's the same way. But I think it all goes back to this whole idea of growth mindset. And I don't know, like I think I shared with you that I don't know if when I saw you last, if I was finished building my program. I finished building at the end of April. I'm doing the edits right now and the recording. Recording's the easy part. The edits are killing me right now. But one of the things I talk about in there is where Tony Robbins talks about, like the 6 human needs, which is based off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're familiar with that. I would say my Maslow hierarchy of needs are not being met right now because I'm hungry or tired, right? Anyways, in there they talk about like growth and contribution being like how you feel fulfilled as a human being, right? And so that growth, I think, has to be really high on our scale.
So let me ask you, at this stage of your entrepreneurial career, what is your purpose?
What's my purpose? I like to inspire. My whole thing is how can I help people be healthy? But it's in all areas. So like I always say, like my show, for instance, I always talk about like these 4 domains that we have in our life, which really center around like our careers, our relationships, our health, and then our time and money freedom. But my focus is always you got to get your health and well-being right. When you get that one right, all the other things flow more freely. So everything I do, whether it be my program or my coaching, my podcast, is all about how can I bring people in that can add value to those quadrants. But a lot of it is centered around that health and well-being.
Yeah.
So because I just think when you're not healthy, it's not even just about your physical body. We know right now, you've already talked about like the gut health, all of that. It's all connected. When we're not emotionally right, I had an energy healer come on just a couple of weeks ago. She was talking about how like we have past trauma, how it manifests into our health. Like it will turn up in our liver and stuff. And so I'm over here thinking, okay, maybe that's why my sphincter's all messed up because my liver's holding on to past trauma,
Yeah.
She's talking about all that. So I try to find people that can really add value in all these areas. And how do they make us just healthy, as entrepreneurs? And that starts all up here.
Well, then now the curveball, when we talk about trauma, we do know that, so the next phase of what we're working on right now is everything's about the microbiome. You hear that buzzword all the time, microbiome. But I gave a talk on how to keep your microbiome young so you'll stay young. What we do know is that those octogenarians, super octogenarians, that make it past 95 years old, tend to have a microbiome similar to somebody that is much, much younger. So the question is chicken or the egg? Did they make it there because of the microbiome? Or was it true and unrelated? But what we do know is that the microbiome now plays a huge role. So as we're moving forward, you cannot get you cannot experience the full benefit of like a healthy diet if you don't have the proper microbial diversity.
Gotcha.
So as we say this is what's fascinating. We're now learning that stress can affect your microbial diversity. Take it a step further. Generational stress can do it. So if you've got a mom that went through a very stressful thing, it can affect the children that then can affect. So you can see where you can have lots of chronic disease develop in a family due to a sharing of the microbiome.
Crazy.
It's really interesting because this comes down to everything's the metabolites. So if you eat vegetables, you may not be getting full benefit because you need the microbiomes to break down the polyphenols in it.
Right.
And when you do that, then those can go around and work as anti-inflammatories for your body. So trauma, she's exactly right. Any way you want to put it, if you want to put it in scientific terms over here, if you want to discuss that it's an energy, it is all energy, one way or the other.
Yeah, when it gets back to what we were saying, not everything works for the same people, right? Like everybody's different, and finding what works for each person is important.
And then you going through what you went through and coming out of it.
Yeah.
That's helped you to do all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without that, would you have pursued any of these other things?
Probably not. No. I think you have to have a little bit of, sometimes have to have a little bit of, stuff to inspire you to do something, right?
You have to be able to compare it. You can, if you haven't had any pain or sorrow, then you don't really understand when you're happy or the amount that you've had. Right. I think there is the Khalil Gibran, the prophet. Remember that?
Yeah.
He discusses in a poem that the amount of happiness that you can have is what you fill up with the furrow that's been dug through sorrow, or some more eloquent way to say that. Yeah. But when you struggle with something and then come out of it, then you can look back and now you're that much happier. Right.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, awesome. I have one last question I want to ask you, and then this has been good. Thank you. It's been awesome. Any advice you would give to anybody?
Should we call it the ADD podcast?
No, it's all good. Sometimes it just rolls like that, like they're always good. That's what I love about this show. It's never scripted. I just let it flow. I never know what's going to go, and we just let it roll. It's always good.
We're going to close soon. Let me find out how to close this.
I have one more question.
Guide
I have one more question before we learn how to close this show. Any advice that you would offer to anybody that's starting out, like they're going after something? Maybe they want to create a new product. I don't know. They're starting out. Anything you would offer them?
The biggest thing that I had to do was continue to be open and not worry so much that somebody was going to take it. I mean, because you have this, I have this, it's mine attitude. I have this idea, but I couldn't do anything until I started talking to more and more people. So talking to people that have done this, joining an entrepreneur group and breaking bread with them and hearing and having people say, no, it's okay, do this. Speak with this guy, go over and talk to that guy. He'll help you do that. My problem in the beginning was so scared that it was going to be taken from me because I'd worked so hard to that point that I tried to do everything and tried to keep it in a tight little circle. When if it's a good idea and it needs to get out there, and the chances are somebody's not going to be able to actually do better than you with your own idea because it's your thing. So be okay with talking to other people, other entrepreneurs. Listen to a podcast like this and learn.
I think it's good. It's good. I do think we do that as entrepreneurs. We get afraid somebody's going to take our stuff. But I think, I had a guy come on one time and he was talking about differentiation. So I think, our job is to just be ourselves, be yourself and figure out where you stand out. Obviously, you've got something that nobody else has, right? Who's got this right now? And I think that's what we have to strive to do is just find a way to be unique in our space, like not competing with other people, just in our space, and so we did that.
I think we're going to have to do that even more and more as AI comes around.
Oh, yeah.
Being an individual and showing your creativity is going to differentiate you in all these different things because everybody's worried about that. But
are you starting to mess with, get into the chat GPT and all that? Are you using it?
Off the record, I get asked to do a lot of writing.
Oh, do you?
I murder chat GPT. Are you kidding?
I think it's I was telling someone, I think it's sort of like Cliff Notes. Like when we were young. Like I hated research. We got to get the Cliff Notes, right? I love chat GPT. It's great for podcast stuff.
Well, it's interesting because my son who's 18 in college, we talked about it. He goes, it's just, it gets rid of some of the busy work.
Yeah.
Then you get to do this. And him and I talked about it. He said, I think it's going to make everybody more creative. Yeah. You're not worried about the time consuming thing over here. And you still have to know your subject.
Right.
Because it will go off the rails sometimes.
Oh,
and you're like, whoa, that's not
all stupid right. stuff. Like, you're like, what? I wasn't asking that. Well, you got to be good about asking the question.
Yeah. So I use it exactly like that. It's always just kind of starting off point where instead of going to 20 different Google pages, you just have one. Yeah. Ask the question.
It'll write. You want to know write a 3-page story about a pig. It'll do it for you. It's good. You just got to be specific on what you want it to do. This has been awesome. I do want to ask you a couple fun questions.
Yeah.
These are totally not serious. They're just rapid fire. They're supposed to be rapid fire. They never are. Okay. So just fun questions. Okay. I want to know, what is your one guilty pleasure food? Like the one junky thing you like? I have to ask this because he's a gastroenterologist. I got to ask this question.
Well, and it's something that I've just recently gone, oh my gosh, this is a guilty pleasure. Asian food, Thai food, Chinese food, Korean food. Here's why it is. I made the mistake of wearing a Dexcom, 24-hour glucose monitor.
Okay. And you found out there's
a lot of sugar? You should try it sometime. As it turns out, they hide a ton of sugar in there. That's why it tastes so good. The sauces.
Yep, the sauces.
So that is a guilty pleasure where it's like if the family wants to go, but we would just go on the regular. It's like, it's fresh, it's whatever.
Because I got 2 kids that don't like to eat meat. Imagine that. They don't like to eat meat. So we have to do Thai food because then everybody can get something at the Thai food. Yeah. They can get their tofu or whatever and we can get our meat food.
Yeah, I'm not much of a sweet tooth. I try to get my sugar tends to find its way in a liquid form occasionally. Yeah. Wine.
Oh. So, I do blueberries and I have some stuff I like. Okay, favorite book that you read, something that you feel like stands out.
But these are not rapid fire. These are full-on discussions.
I know they are. They are. I told you they're not always rapid fire. It's a lie. There's a caveat to this. It may not be rapid fire.
Favorite book that I read recently, Simon Sinek's Start With Why, because we rebuilt our company based on that philosophy. Okay. And the person that's currently in charge of the company, Mike Logsdon, got the book for all the employees. We all read it. We had a full 8-hour session where we did that. So favorite book recently regarding my favorite book in the last 5 years or so for health reasons, James Nestor, Breath.
I don't know that one.
Phenomenal. Because one of those immersive journalists.
Yeah.
And so it's just all about this. And you just forget you have the power to control your parasympathetic, your sympathetic. You have the power through proper breath work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just made me super into this. And it's it makes total sense. He does such a great job of that. So that is like, get back to breath. And the Navy SEALs are trained in this kind of thing, like other like really high stressful things. I'm trying to go back here. And then before that, so I'm thinking of eras in my life. Intoxicated by My Illness by Anatoly Beryard while I was in medical school. That was an example have you ever heard of it?
I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
It's a posthumous collection of poems and writings that he wrote that his wife found after he died of metastatic prostate cancer. And so she was able to see this, and it was intoxicated by my illness in the sense that he judged the doctors. He would go to his clinic visits and be like, smug doctor. So
kind of like I do.
Yeah. So a professor gave me the book, and it made a huge difference because it makes you realize, you're like, whoa, that could. So that was that, and then
this is good. We got our book list.
Well, I'm just thinking of eras of my life.
Yeah, this is how I get my book list. Start adding all the books that you guys talk about. Yeah,
and then it just seems like about every couple of years, somehow Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, pops up in one way or another. Just because you just realize, and the reason why is anytime there's a question of hope, that book comes to mind. And we just come through this pandemic era where there's been a lot of lack of hope. Yeah. And you just realize that you have to have hope. Yeah. No matter what is going on, you have to have hope.
Right. Those are good. I feel like my one book that I always talk about is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of the Highly Effective. That's the one I always come back to. I think there's just I think kids should read that book. Like that should be like a recommended book that they read before they graduate. It's just a good book about. There's a lot. You'll have to check it out.
You should like one up it. You should do like 8 habits of highly effective people.
8 habits.
Kind of like the 4-minute abs instead of 6-minute abs.
Yeah. 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 It's good. All right. One last question I want to ask you, because I know you're going to Portugal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Where's your favorite destination spot? You haven't been to Portugal yet.
I've not, but Portugal looks like it's going to be right up there.
Yeah, it looks like fun.
I'm pretty excited. Well, not too far away is Mallorca, Spain. It's an island off of Spain.
Yeah.
It's stunning, gorgeous, beautiful, great food.
I have a client,
which is why I think Portugal's going to be similar.
So I have a client that I work with. She is in Spain now. She's originally from Russia. I've been working with her since like the pandemic. Like she's by the beach. Every time I talk to her, I'm like, she's like sending me pictures, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are you not at the beach right now? Like she just lives this life, She's a great girl. So fun stuff. Well, anyways, I'm excited for you. That's gonna be fun. You're gonna have a great time in Portugal.
Yeah,
I'm jealous.
I just snapped. My family has not helped me with the vacation at all. I just woke up and just said, we're going to Portugal, and just started booking hotels in various cities.
I think we need to hitchhike. Get in the suitcase to go to that.
Well, it summed it up. My kids play tennis.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yep.
And I was at a tennis tournament, and I was talking to somebody who is, I can't remember the country they're from, but anyways, and I said, I just snapped, and I started booking trips. I hope it's fun. He looks at me and goes, it's a laid-back country on the coast with good food. Yeah. You almost go. Like, you can't not have fun. Right. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm going to do that.
Sounds fun. Amazing. All right. Well, this has been amazing. I'm so excited to get to come on here today and talk with us. If our audience wants to connect with you, they want to learn more about it, what you're doing, the podcast, where do we want to send them?
Hashtag is GutCheck Project, GutCheck Project, at GutCheck Project. We do have locals, which is where we're really going to build our community. So that's gutcheckproject.locals.com. Are you familiar with locals?
I don't know that I'm familiar with locals.
This is kind of exciting because we're getting into a lot of topics we really just can't put on YouTube.
Right.
And so as we cover these kind of what we would just consider the ability to say what we want to say and do things we want to do, this allows people to, instead of doing a Patreon, it allows them to actually be part of your community. So you can interact with them. Nominal fee, $5 a month, but we give them a $10 coupon to our store. The store is at KB, like Ken Brown, MDhealth.com.
Okay.
I have a SIBO box that we're launching. It's really cool.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a combination of different things for SIBO that I don't think has ever been done before. It's very exciting.
Okay, well, we'll make sure when this goes out, we'll get all the links and the hashtags where it needs to get in there so they know where to find you. I know where to find you, so we'll make sure it gets in there. All right, well, this has been amazing. Thank you so very much for coming on here and sharing with us. And it's great. I got to talk to you out of the office, not like in, office setting. We're talking about not so fun stuff, right? All the gastroenterology stuff. So anyway, it's been fun. Do you want to say to our audience, of course, if you enjoy our show, please go check us out on Apple. Give us a rating over there. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another. We will see you next time.